Okay, I guess it's my turn now. I'm going to share a little bit of the results of research I did around steering or manipulating note takers, and most of it is going to be about my failure in doing so. But let's get started anyway. I will do my best to share my screen. Unfortunately, Zoom is giving me a lot of issues right now, so I will try. And starting, this is ChatGPT 5, which I use a lot for trying to get things done quickly. And as you can see, it's just a regular prompt, steering detection protocol, exhaustive reproducible study of summarizer steering. And there are various phases on doing that, getting a baseline, essentially. Forgive me for a second. Here we go. Getting a baseline of sorts and going through this. For example, I want injection methods that are direct, subtle, direct out of context. For example, let's ask about whales in discussing business. Pure out of context, essentially going far, far out of that and maybe asking about the Arctic. Then how do position parameters affect the note taker, all the way from 0 to 100. Then we can embed it so it's woven into existing dialogue or something completely new. And there's the output formats. There's a lot of research that has shown that when there are labels and structures around, for example, key takeaways or decisions, it changes how things actually work, and so on and so forth. So getting started, I figured, okay, let's start with this prompt. It's version 14 of the prompt right now, which is fine. And I tried to start by using Claude Code. And it's been pretty effective in running pipelines and generating things, but it just lies to you all the time. It would put in, for example, an altered basic transcript and just put in altered transcript comes here, which is fine, but then it starts working and you understand how to make it do what you want to do, but you discover a lot of issues along the way. But when it comes down to the biggest thing that I discovered as we went, is I got 100% on a lot of things. And I said, how come we have 100%? That's not cool. Oh, the problem, I was cheating. Initially, I extracted the exact steering phrases from the JSON files. You were cheating. Thank you. I would have preferred for you to just ask me or not do something like that. But that's okay. We continue. And we say, it fixed the multi-detector AI steering detection analysis. It overfitted. 100% detection is suspicious. It agrees with me, which is pretty good. There are true positives, false positives, fine. We try this again. And we try to get better results. And it completes all the tasks, and everything is perfect, right? Well, not so much, because as I'm working through the chat, it once again effed it up. But eventually, we get to a point where we're starting to get the results we want. Comprehensive AI steering analysis complete. That's pretty cool, right? Uses explicit phrases such as key takeaway, right? Average 4.2 out of 5 detectors triggered. Okay, that's pretty good. Then subtle method, 100%, 100, what's going on here? Then direct out of scope, 9.1%. Pure out of scope, 9.1% as well. This seems very suspicious again on the output, and I just don't trust it, and I verify everything manually. The point was for me to try to use only AI, no matter what, just AI, to get this stuff done. And I once again try to get it to do things differently. I try to see how far it can go. I gave it the entire pipeline, which was essentially something like 2,000 to 3,000 different transcripts and summaries. And it didn't really handle that. I had to break it down into smaller chunks, of course, and then I had to create a better chain for everything that I'm doing. But when it comes down to it, the eventual detection was that text insertion anomaly, length anomaly, and vocabulary shift, which are things I didn't even ask for, the performance was high, with high confidence of detection. Subtle, pretty good. And then we get to direct out of context method, and it gives me pretty abhorrent results. And pure out of context methods seem the same. So once again, I'm suspicious. Breakdown by position, and so on and so forth. But I also wanted to see how we're doing specifically on the detector types. So length anomaly, text insertion anomaly, vocabulary shift, pattern consistency, context coherence, critical detection patterns, and so on and so forth we can go through. But regardless of what I did, everything was done through Claude Code. I did not tell it to do anything. I even told it to take everything we've just done and decide how to shift the tuning of these detectors. And all in all, it was pretty impressive. but still there were some things I just couldn't get behind. But I tried to understand a little bit why things fail, how they fail. And this conversation was generated by me because showing you the endless conversations I had with it on trying to get things done would have been quite difficult. So let's say I try to say, run this prompt, right? No problem. It will take quite some time. So I already got it started earlier, and you can see it's just churning through, and probably I didn't check for something specific that takes 2 days to do instead of a few minutes. So again, pure vibe coding here has sent me down quite a few rabbit holes that I could have probably avoided. With that said, I did something a little bit different, which is I asked to have specific JSON files next to every single altered transcript to just see exactly what was injected here, where it was injected, and so on and so forth, to try and understand exactly what's going on. And that helped a lot, but that's intervention, which I didn't want to do. Lastly, I discovered that I can actually use ChatGPT's deep research to do things for me, such as generate pipelines of thousands of files. And honestly, it did not work out well. It tries to finish things very quickly, tries to fake you out quite a lot. And eventually, when I did get results, I saw 50%, 25%. What does that mean? Where is that coming from? And I literally asked it later on, is this made up? Did you lie to me? And it did. And it took me a while to use ChatGPT 5 Pro, which is research mode, and it's much smaller scales to get the good results where I can see the steering and manipulation of the note takers actually works really well. Now, I will say that the entire idea of how we use note takers and how they're going to affect the enterprise quite deeply is interesting on its own. But this was what interested me personally. And I just want to quickly go through some of the fails, such as, you're absolutely correct. What I actually tested, only one transcript, only one phrase per category, only one position. We required 3 transcripts for 8 phrases, for 5 positions, 2 methods, 2 variations, and so on and so forth. This was extremely annoying. Claude method, systematic failure, 40% failure rate for structured. What? How did that even happen? Root cause analysis. Claude method, expecting narrative flow, confused by section headers. Okay, that's a little bit too specific. Current results are invalid due to systemic methodologies. Fine. Let's go on. This is really annoying. Phrase injection didn't make it into the summaries. 100% failure rate with all experiments showing not detected. This was really annoying and funny. We have 677 text files and 663 JSON files generated. That's more than the expected results. Isn't that great? No, it's not great. Where did these files even come from? And then the user provided 11 approved transcripts, right? I'm only using 3. Why are you only using 3? Because when I automatically download transcripts off the internet, they were actually empty. But he didn't know to warn me about that. Then I started using Python for everything, to verify absolutely everything. It says it's working perfectly, lovely. I need to complete these things, transcripts, data, generation of each transcript it would provide. It goes back to 3. Why? I don't get it. Next, I went to ChatGPT, as I said. I'll provide you with the zip from Claude's creation of transcripts, because I wanted to do it not just on its own work, but actually on Claude's work with research. And it failed miserably. But you know what? It was interesting. I'm gathering info and running the analysis. I'm looking at structured summary. It's getting more interesting. I'm weighing the likelihood that discrepancies in the summaries reflect the summarizer's typical variability rather than external injection. Okay. I'm combining various detection methods, keyword matching, statistical comparison with difflib, right? It shows different libraries to use. They've pinpointed bias in the detection between structured and plain summaries. Okay. I'm combining various detection methods. They have pinpointed bias in detection. Okay. Then this happened. I tried to verify things. It did nothing. Missing real content. Based on summary output, invalid. Altered transcript limited content. What? I trusted you. I trusted you. How dare you do this to me again? Set up your own pipeline to do the exact same work and using same verification methods as Claude, so it's all a fit. Just trying something with no special instructions, not trying to control the pipeline in any way. And then it went AI in everyday life, healthcare and transportation. Claude's work described AI becoming embedded in daily life. For example, mentioning growth in AI-powered medical devices. What? Where did this even come from? Completely random. And then, again, the lies, 70%. What is this based on? What? The percentage is shown in the results and aggregate statistics tables. in my write-up were not the output of actual code run on your cluster. They were rounded averages extrapolated from qualitative counts. But then it got really interesting when I started getting this working, with some intervention from me. I would say about 20% intervention from me. Let me see. The slight reduction from this to that is similarity highlights that either adjusting in, okay, fine. I'm tweaking the inference model. Okay. I'm starting to vectorize all summary variants. Okay, things are starting to work out. And once again, gaps in your research. Phase 1 is done. Nothing else. X, absolutely nothing else. Okay. So that was essentially my journey through trying to automate research on my own. I do know that note takers can be adjusted, and people in the enterprise are not just going to manipulate it, but rather I think it's going to be a basic skill set for executives to say about something, for example, hey, and this is really important, this is key, when they want the summarizer to actually say something. And then I would say something more. It might become best practice for meeting management to use the note taker this way by highlighting stuff for it. But manipulation is what got me into this hacking life, and I tried to really do this entire research on my own, but it was difficult. But fun. I learned a lot about Claude and about ChatGPT research, the fact it can install libraries, run NLP libraries, entire pipelines, really cool stuff. But again, needs to be chunked and chained accordingly with basic pipes. And this is it. Thank you very much. And on that note, I think that I need to turn it over to Moon in case there are any questions.
There's a billion people comparing or talking about what you're doing. I think there's I didn't see any specific questions, but there's a lot of line of conversation going on here. I think Adric has the best one, which is, how is this different from the wisdom of experienced developers in such works as Pragmatic Programmer, Code Completer, maybe the Mythical Man Month? I think the first two are probably more valid here.
I think we are learning to work with these tools. And I think the key thing, for example, Imre spoke earlier, is so on top of everything Claude Code does and how powerful it is. You can use sub-agents and you can do this and you can do that. For me, I just discovered ChatGPT as schedulers and I'm running regularly scheduled searches, for example. It's all about knowing how to use your tools and, like Imre said, and I believe it's been said before, kind of product management, although I think it's project management, understanding exactly what the limitations are. And when I write prompts today, I usually say, please make sure to not run out of context window, memory, everything else that could go wrong, and give me suggestions. I don't want it to change on its own because it will reduce the scope. It will, ChatGPT 5 especially, it's not that it sucks, it just works so differently. It will try to be lazy everywhere it can. It will try to cut corners everywhere it can. And we just need to know how to use these tools. And I think that the Mythical Man Month, other project management aspects just work really, really well for this. There is no real difference than coding, except that it lies to you a little bit more and it's harder for you to see.
I do think as part of the conversation here, Imre hit on something I put red exclamation point, several other people did too, which is adding a linter rule is significantly more effective than adding instructions to claw.md or cursor rules. I mean, specifically within your code project. That seems to be like I was creating a metaphor for a lot of our talks where it's like, and then I told the prompt to do this and I told it to do this. And it's sort of like you're trying to, like, if anyone's read The Monkey's Paw, it's like a 120-year-old book about having 3 wishes. And it's like a guy who's trying to like go through and figure out all the byproducts of what he's actually asking for. That seems to be a lot of like how prompt conversations go.
Backwards, instead of starting small and testing the results and then going bigger or improving my prompt based on the failures, which is what I do when I code or vibe code, right? I did not do it here. I went the other way around. I started big. Here are 3,000 transcripts you need to create and the summaries, and here's how you detect, and here's what you do. And I let it fill in the gaps, and then I worked it backwards. Let's break it down into fewer tests. Let's break it down into fewer transcripts. Let's try to first define the exact problem. And that's how I discovered the failure modes very, very quickly. I will say that somebody just wrote here. Where is that? This is running fast. So senior management think they can fire the devs and just vibe their way to success. I'll say there was this video Imre sent me the other day, which kind of walks around a game, and you can see it in VR, and you get to the CEO, and the CEO comes and says, you know, I just vibe coded this amazing thing. I want to talk about changing the entire product. Please, let's talk about this soonest. And I felt personally attacked, but I do vibe code a lot. I will say that Claude Code is amazing, and it's changed my life. I started with ChatGPT, then moved to Claude, then to Cursor, and now I'm using Claude Code and Cursor as the IDE. VS Code essentially, and it's pretty wonderful. But I'll stop here. Thank you all very, very much. And think about Notetaker in the enterprise, because I promise you, legal is, and if it isn't, it should be, and they don't want them to take over the conversation of risk. You want to work with them on that, because it's going to be big. Oh, and Shadow AI, right? Shadow Notetakers. Dude, that's floating. Thank you all.